Well, welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. It's time now for the week that was. Let's take a look at the top stories that made headlines around the globe this week. And we're going to start with the immediate former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, who has filed a case against the Kaduna State House of Assembly, seeking to enforce his fundamental human rights. The suit also alleges that El-Rufai was denied a fair hearing during the investigation by the House of Assembly into alleged misuse of public funds and money laundering during his tenure as governor from 2015 through to 2023. El-Rufai, alongside former commissioners who served under his administration earlier today, filed the suit at the Federal High Court in Kaduna. The Kaduna House of Assembly had inaugurated a 13-man ad hoc committee to examine the loans, grants, and project implementation during El-Rufai's tenure as governor of Kaduna State. The committee's report, adopted by the House, indicated that El-Rufai and some key members of his cabinet for alleged corruption in the way of awards of contracts and management of both domestic and foreign loans obtained by his government.
I'm here with Malam Nasir El-Rufai to file an application to enforce his fundamental rights. As we are all aware, the Kaduna State House of Assembly set up an ad hoc committee to investigate loan and other activities of the former administration. A lot of witnesses were called, and they did hearing and they admitted a lot of documents. But strangely, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, who apparently was the target of the investigative committee, was never invited. The law is very clear. Everybody deserves to be given a hearing. The right to fair hearing is a natural right that inheres into every human being. Malam Nasir El-Rufai, a lot of allegations were made against him. He was not given a hearing at all. As a law-abiding citizen who believes in the rule of law and who believes that when there are infractions, you need to approach the court, he's here today before the Federal High Court to enforce his right that every infraction they alleged, he was not given an opportunity to state his own side of the story. And the law is clear about it. Any proceeding, be it court or quasi-tribunal, that he didn't give the parties concerned a hearing, the whole proceeding is void ab initio. And that's why we're here.
Malam Nasir El-Rufai is well within his rights to seek reprieve in the House of Justice if he believes that his rights were not, his human rights were not respected, if he was not called to testify in a case or an investigation that was against him or his administration. We've spoken about this case multiple times, even before the investigation concluded, because it is very bizarre that this seems like a case that would implicate the people who are currently in power right now. The governor, Uba Sani, was the senator who stood at the Senate and in the media on El-Rufai's behalf when he was governor, saying that he should have this loan, that the loan would be used well. Uba Sani, who's governor now, his deputy governor is Hadiza Barabe, who was the deputy governor under El-Rufai. They have essays some of their essays are the same, some of their commissioners are the same. There is not much difference, I would say, from El-Rufai administration to Uba Sani administration, except for who is in charge on top. So it's very bizarre then if you're saying that there has been misappropriation of funds and misuse of funds, but only those who are no longer part of the administration, the ones who stayed in, their hands are clean. Because if you truly want us to believe that this is not about politicking, if you want us to believe that it's about accountability and about corruption truly, then everybody must cast.
Not everybody must cast. Well, we did see this a couple of weeks ago where the Speaker of Assembly came out and said that, about 423 billion naira was allegedly siphoned by the former governor of Kaduna State. And what we're seeing here, especially with his actual presence, because a lot of times in situations like this, we probably just send the lawyer. But what we're seeing with his actual presence there is El-Rufai really saying that, you have come, basically you've come for me and you have my human rights have been violated. And with the committee actually recommending El-Rufai's prosecution, it's really up to them to be able to prove beyond, any reasonable doubt that, in fact, these loans or these projects were not completed. And when you think about the body language, of course, of El-Rufai as well, responding to this assembly probe. Like you've said, the administrations are very similar. So I think he really stands behind that, like, knowing fully well that if you are saying that I did these things, I should not be the only one, going down. There's so many other people that need to be looked into. But this is a case that is now the respondents are the Kaduna State House of Assembly, the State Attorney General, and the Commissioner of Justice. So it's really about how both sides can prove whether these allegations are true or not.
Absolutely. I mean, it's about proving whether the allegations are true. They are still what they are. They are mere allegations. If you bandy figures, 4 and something billion, you've not shown the public how they were mismanaged. Exactly. Were they stolen? Were they siphoned? Were they mismanaged? How were they mismanaged? By who? By which agencies? Which amount of the money can you not account for? Which amount of money was signed out without the contracts attached to them, being carried out? But like you said, Adesua, most of the dramatis personae in this matter were in the administration, either as legislators or in the executive, and therefore you are basically pointing fingers, at yourself. But like you both agreed, Malam El-Rufai is well within his right, to approach the court. Essentially to say that I don't think that it is so much of human rights denial or abuse. It's about the fact that he has not been given fair hearing.
Yeah, but the right to fair hearing is one of your fundamental human rights.
I agree.
Yes.
But, so basically, just let the House of Assembly, do the needful. Like we said, pointed out the other time, if you are to wait for a whole year before you now come up with these allegations, at least what you hold the public will be detailed, nitty-gritty, line by line items of what actually went wrong. So that when Malam El-Rufai is coming, he's answering, line by line to what you are alleging that he has committed. Definitely. But we do not have that at this point in time. But of course, this is beyond mismanagement of funds, in my opinion. I think this is essentially about politics, and we can see what is happening already.
Politics distracting from governance.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, who do you therefore blame? It is not Malam El-Rufai. I mean,
no, I'm not
love him or loathe him.
Yes.
Exactly. But once it comes to politics, something will give. And usually it will be the attention that lawmakers especially, and even people within the executive, give to the actual duty, of governance. But I mean, this is something that they can't run away from. You've started the war, in quote. You must be ready, to go the whole battle. But the lesson there is that the Nigerian politics, has gotten to a stage where, maybe with the exception of Lagos, no godfather or no sitting governor can be, sure that the person that you are, your successor, will actually do your bidding. We'll see what is happening. Sorry? Let's wait a bit and see what's going on there. Kogi will be another example. But we see what is happening in Rivers.
Yeah.
We also see what is now happening in Kaduna, which is a bit shocking. But as I said, it's about politics. And I'm not just saying that the House of Assembly or Governor Obasanjo is just playing mere politics. Of course, somebody will be pressing some buttons here and there, which probably explains why El-Rufai has also been moving around, seen with people that ordinarily you'll be wondering what's going on here.
Doing a lot of meetings.
Exactly.
I do love it. On the internet they were talking about his extensive library, and I was like, that's just brilliant. When in his meeting with Kwankwaso, the former governor of Kano State,
and they've succeeded in bringing Buhari, into the fold. Yes. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, is this about saying Baba?" A second time. But we will see what happens. But I think El-Rufai is right. Approach the court, and then let's actually thrash this whole issue.
Yes.
And let's
see. No trial by media.
Exactly.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Trial by the courts. Let's move on now very quickly to the Sokoto state government, which has denied news of a plan to dethrone the Sultan of Sokoto, Saad Abubakar III. The government said this in a reaction to Vice President Kashim Shettima's call for respect for the monarch. Our Rice correspondent Suleiman Nasiru has this report.
On June 6, the Sokoto State Executive Council held its fifth Executive Council meeting where matters of state importance were discussed with a proposed bill for a law to further amend the Sokoto State Local Government Law 2008 to provide for the tenure of local government council and other related matters. After the meeting, some members of the State Executive Council were delegated to address journalists on the outcome of the meetings.
To practice. The practice is the Sultan Council makes recommendations to the governor for approval before appointments of district heads. So what was presented to the council today is to streamline the practice to make it in conformity with the provisions of the law. So now it is going to be as approved. If passed by the Sokoto House of Assembly, the power to recommend shall be vested in the Sultanate Council, while the power to appoint shall be vested in the governor. That is the simple explanation.
This action has since led to speculation and allegations of a plan by Sokoto State government to dethrone the Sultan of Sokoto, Sa'ad Abubakar, which has generated reactions from different quarters. Many say the allegation may not be unconnected to the happenings in Kano State and the fact that 15 district heads were earlier sacked by the Sokoto State government for various offenses. Vice President Kashim Shettima had also joined the debate by asking the Sokoto State government to halt its plans to tamper with the Sultan. He had contended that the Sultan of Sokoto represents an idea and an institution that all citizens in the country need to guide jealously so as to protect and preserve it. But the Sokoto State government has now denied the allegation, describing it as unfounded. The government says it expected the Vice President to have consulted the governor before going public. The state government says it had cordial relations with the Sultanate Council, cherishes and respects Sultan Sa'ad Abubakar. Sokoto State government has since denied the allegation and speculation about the plan to dethrone the Sultan of Sokoto. Here at the State House of Assemblies, where members are just resuming from recess, the matter never came up. Only the first leg of the law that seeks to amend the Sokoto State Local Government Law of 2008 that talked about the tenure of the officials of the local government that was discussed at length. But the member cautioned his colleagues to also tread with caution, not to throw the state into utter confusion.
This bill that was brought here has nothing to do with the dethronement of His Eminence the Sultan of Sokoto, but some section of this thing need to be, taken with extra careful, because we have seen what is happening in Kano. We have seen how the nation has taken a dimension, serious dimensions over this issue. That is why I rose up in the floor of the House to caution the House members to make sure that they have done what is supposed to be done to make sure that we stay peacefully in this state.
Honorable Modachi also called on members of the public to remain calm as the State Assembly is working in the interest of the people and will ensure the right thing is done.
The majority of the people, particularly people in Sokoto, should stay calm. We are behind them, and inshallah, we will stand to make sure that the right things are done in the House.
I try to venture into that kind of hard gamble, being from Sokoto and from Sokoto town, and who is someone that knows the value of the institution of the Sultanate. You know, Sultanate is an institution beyond one single individual, beyond Sokoto, beyond Nigeria, beyond even West Africa.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has also joined the debate on the recent happenings in Kano and Sokoto State by calling on governors to respect traditional institutions in the country. He also called for a constitutional reform that will recognize these traditional institutions and also define the responsibilities of their offices. Suleiman Nasser, Arise News.
Well, I mean, these reports coming in, especially when you look at it on the backdrop of what happened in Kano State, that immediately caused a lot of panic, looking at that relationship between the government and, the traditional rulers. But I'm glad that, the Sokoto government immediately stepped up and denied any of these allegations. In fact, there was a statement that was put out by the Sokoto State representative talking about the fact that the current governor, Aliyu, is someone that respects the monarchy. And in fact, that relationship is actually part of establishing that relationship and making it stronger is actually part of his 9-point agenda going in. And then I started to think, what exactly would make such allegations thrive? And I realized that it was probably because of the fact that there were some district heads that are, kind of tied to this, tied to the traditional ruler who were, reprimanded, and some of them were suspended. But then again, explaining why they were sacked and transferred, the governor's aide came out to say that Murik should know that the affected were accused because of unbecoming behavior such as land racketeering, aiding in security, and insubordination to the constituted authority. So it was only just a few of them. So this whole back and forth about, the governor of Sokoto State government trying to take out, the traditional ruler or the monarch is really is false. And I'm, glad that it's been able to, at least to an extent, be sorted.
For now.
For now.
For now. I like the fact, like you said, that the Sokoto state government has said that there's no cause for alarm. We're dealing with our issues the way that we believe will not ridicule, the exalted position of the Sultan. And I think that is important to put out because, frankly speaking, the defenders of the throne are the people themselves.
Yes.
But you know that the sort of system that we run, practically every monarch in Nigeria is under the local government chairman. Mm-hmm. Okay, if we want to give it a bit of elevation, we'll say under the governor. Mm-hmm. Under the governor. But you know that the governor can instruct any local government chairman. We know, of course, some monarchs that carry themselves, quite well. But they do that because the throne upon which they're sitting, the people can defend the sanctity of such thrones. And there's no point in mentioning names. We know them. My own concern here is the sort of intervention or how the intervention from the Vice President Kashim Shettima came. I don't think it is within the right of the Vice President to be dishing orders to anybody, let alone a governor in another party who does not in any way report to him. Where was Vice President Kashim Shettima when he was a senator of the Federal Republic, when a member of his party, the former governor of Kano State, was doing what he did in Kano? I can't recall him making any such intervention. And now that another governor in another party in Kano State saying that we want to correct, in their own wisdom, and nobody's saying that it is right, we want to correct the anomaly of the previous government. We see, in a stylish manner, how Kano has now been, divided along monarchical lines into two. Yeah. Two cousins, two brothers, fighting each other. So I think that the Vice President should have been a bit more careful, in the usage of his words. There are many governors in the southern part of Nigeria who practically have the sort of powers, to just do anything that they like. I recall, what happened in Ibadan, or your state, a few years ago when the former governor, God bless his soul, Ajimobi, tried to tamper with the system of the Olubadan lineage and try to balkanize, what was happening there. We saw how the people responded. We saw how many of the chiefs said that this is not what you can do, and they approached the court. And of course, at the end of the day, the people won in court. So I think that let us leave Sokoto alone. So that we do not, I don't think we're in a situation where like we will have in 1996 under Abacha, when the former Sultan Dasuki was deposed, ceremoniously by the Abacha junta. I don't think that's where we are. And the vice president shouldn't also speak like somebody who's wearing a khaki. He's a civilian president, a vice president, elected vice president. He shouldn't also denigrate the position of other governors.
So leave Sokoto alone, but keep an eye out.
The media will kill Fanai.
I will also say, though, that the Sultan of Sokoto is different from other traditional rulers because he's not just the Sultan of Sokoto, but he's also recognized as the leader of Muslims in Nigeria. And so that has... I understand where Mr. Steve come from in terms of the posture of the vice president, but also there is something that we have to say that there is an import in somebody that's seen not just as a traditional ruler, but also a religious ruler. He's the person who tells us when there is Eid. He's the person who tells us, the different whatever when it's cited, what the dates are. He's an embodiment of an idea, just as the vice president said. And I think something that's important that we're seeing from these, I would say, scuffles between our federal government and our traditional rulers is that this anomaly that local government chairman and state governors have power over our traditional rulers is something that was put upon us based off of colonization. I don't think it's necessarily something that is healthy to continue standing in a polity as we have right now, because it really is, I would say, an aberration that a governor can decide to split an emirate into 5, right? Beyond just deposing, historical institutions and the historical ideas and people's traditional and religious belief systems are being at the whim decided on maybe political or petty differences. And I definitely think that this is something that should be taken seriously. There's been calls that perhaps, particularly the Sultan of Sokoto, due to his special role as the leader of Muslims, they should put a constitution, or not a constitution, but a law in Sokoto state that does not allow a governor to remove him so freely. Because I definitely think that we do need to proactively protect some of our institutions. The Sultan of Sokoto is an institution, it's not just an individual, right? The Emirate of Kano is an institution, it's not just an individual. And if we do not proactively protect it, these institutions that we are denigrating and we're destroying because some people have political quick wins that they want to get, we're going to suffer for it in the long run. Like, as Nigerians, we actually have to be proactive. We cannot react to, this governor wants to remove one here, this governor wants to remove one here. We might need to be proactive with our legislation so that we prevent these type of things from continuing to happening. Eyes on Sokoto because of the rumors, but also because, there were some videos online. There's some funny behavior also going, people are reading the signs, right? And I'm glad they have denied it because
you're right,
it will not be any good.
And I think that the monarchs fared far better under a parliamentary constitution that we ran. Many of them some of them were premiers. They could run for elections. Not now that you have, all sorts of baales and nobas and coronet kings, here and there. So I agree that a bit of decency is required. But my point, as far as the vice president is concerned, is that yes, an advisory can be issued, but not a threat. It is not within your power to threaten another governor. It is not. All right, we'll proceed. As the planting season intensifies across the nation, the Defense Headquarters says it has adjusted its operations to prioritize the security of farmers during the rainy season. The armed forces also say more than 2,000 terrorists were neutralized in the second quarter of the year. Our Rice News defense correspondent Ferdinand Duroha tells us more.
Nigeria is currently facing food scarcity. One of the reasons identified by experts for this scarcity is limited food production due to disruption to farming activities. While bandits are on the prowl in many areas of the northwest and northeast, abducting and often collecting rents from farmers, farming in many areas in the north central has been disrupted by farmer header and communal clashes. But the military says enough is enough. At the Defense Headquarters bi-weekly briefing, the Director of Defense Media Operations says there is a specific plan to ensure farmers are well protected so they can return to the farm during this planting season.
We are in the rainy season. This is in order that we can have a bumper harvest so that citizens can have food on their table. we have indeed greatly degraded the terrorists, even though they still are present in several of these theaters of operation.
The Defense Headquarters also commends troops for various successes during the second quarter of the year. Now, some of these successes include neutralizing 2,245 terrorists.
It might interest you to know that in the second quarter of this year, troops neutralized 2,245 terrorists, arrested 3,682 suspects and other criminal elements. Troops also rescued 1,993 kidnapped hostages, most of whom are back with their families now, and we recovered 2,783 weapons with 64,547 assorted ammunitions during the second quarter of 2024.
Meanwhile, troops deployed for counter-terrorism operations in Ebonyi State repelled an attack on Iseke police station by suspected IPOB terrorists who attempted to touch the facility and destroy several vehicles. Troops launched a counter-attack and eliminated 5 suspected terrorists. Troops also seized several weapons, including a PKT machine gun, AK-47 rifles, a submachine gun, and a Sienna SUV. Ferdinand Duroha, Arise News.
All right, that's the Nigerian army giving an account of the little that they've been able to do for some time, and I think that that's not too bad if we consider the fact that they are really not figures, number of terrorists neutralized, number of hostages released,
yes,
number of those arrested, are all geared towards protecting farmers and farmlands all over the country, which is an essential, an important thing to do at this point that we are struggling to feed ourselves, that we are struggling to have access, to items, from the farms. And I think that while it looked good on paper, what can we do? A bit of commendation to the Nigerian army so far, but of course people would demand a lot more until we begin to see results that people can say, okay, it looks like things are changing. And I think that is also tied to what the president is also doing, engaging with the governors, engaging with other people, all geared towards ensuring that we can at least feed ourselves because of the food inflation, and cost of living crisis that is in town.
Well, definitely kudos to the military as part of, the efforts to curb the security challenges that farmers, having issues going to their farms. We are in the rainy season now. We know how important that you should take advantage of it. We're just looking at the military achievements between April to June, seeing those very high numbers, about 64,000 ammunition seized and, the rest of that. I would give kudos to them, but it really scares me, when I see the statement that the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, says that all of these adjustments and all of these things that are being done by the military would not take effect, will not see the real effect for another 12 months. So I really wonder what he means by that. And even on the back of that, for him to now come out and say, Nigerians should embrace subsistence farming, everybody now should try and become a farmer, try and grow what you can in the back of your house. I get what he's trying to do, but I think maybe he should just,
In the back of your house, where 75% of Nigerians are tenants.
Thank you. When you even look at it.
So sometimes I genuinely find it very out of touch and somehow insulting. I don't know if it has to do with emotional intelligence, if it has to do with tact, or if it has to just do with not being truly in touch with what most Nigerians are going through. as Mr. Steve just pointed out, most Nigerians are tenants.
Exactly.
Most people are not just food insecure, but they have actual security issues to deal with. Most of them have the finances all the time because people are hustling every day, day in, day out.
That says you should add farming to
and you should
the list
add
of
farming
things.
and
To the what?
List of things that you should do as a Nigerian.
For those who can, yes.
Yes.
For those who are able to, for those who have the...
I have tomato in my house, but I cannot ask somebody else to have some. And most importantly, it's outsourcing government responsibility because the farmers we do have now cannot go to farm.
I mean, you're right. If the idea is to go back to the sense that we had in terms of green revolution, let's do more farming.
Yes.
I don't think that is in doubt. But what people are saying that those who can actually feed the nation do not have access to their farms and they need security. That's where the army comes in, and we must give them kudos so that they can do a bit more.
Definitely.
All right. And that's the much we can take on the week that was. But as we move on, let's try to bring you some key stories on the front burner of global discourse at this time. And we start from America, where the US President Joe Biden has made his first public comment since he struggled in the first debate ahead of November's presidential election, directly addressing concerns about his age. Democrats have expressed unease at the president's shaky debate performance, with party insiders saying some of his answers triggered panic. Biden's campaign insists the president will not step down as a Democratic candidate and that he will debate Donald Trump again in September.
I don't know what you did last night, but I spent 90 minutes on a stage debating a guy who has the morals of an alley cat. Did you see Trump last night? My guess he set, I mean it sincerely, a new record for the most lies told in a single debate. He lied about the great economy he created. He lied about the pandemic he botched, killing millions of people. He closed businesses, he closed schools, losing their homes, people all over this country. America was flat on its back. So I told Trump that he was just one of two presidents in American history who left office with fewer jobs than he started. Herbert Hoover was the other one.
Well, meanwhile, President Biden's rival, Donald Trump, has held his first campaign rally since the debate. He told a crowd in Virginia that the debate was a big victory for him, adding that he does not think Biden would bow out of the race. During the debate, Trump repeatedly attacked Biden on the economy and his foreign policy record, while Biden took aim at his rival's criminal conviction and alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election.
But this stupid man that we have is giving massive subsidies. He's given massive subsidies to windmills all over the country that are ruining our beautiful plains, our beautiful land, our beautiful oceans. Whales aren't exactly in love with them. How about in New Jersey, where they had one whale in 50 years that washed up to shore, and last year they had 18. Would you say there's something going on, little? They had one whale in 50 years. Last year they had 18. That's a lot. And happening more. It does something to them. It drives them crazy.